there's a select few of guys that have a Jordan shoe deal.
Mm-hmm.
If you have this Jordan shoe deal, you are. There's a lot more guys nowadays that are in this.
Exclusive.
But back in the day when you were one of 5, one of 6,
Andrew Jones, Jeter, Machado.
There was
CC.
And Baltimore, the visiting cage.
The visiting
right
cage?
there.
Yeah.
Visiting cage.
Yeah, I know exactly where it is.
after you walk 2 miles.
Yes, after you walk 2 miles to get there through the tunnel, which is hot and stuffy and all that, is boxes of Jordans. And it's just Manny Machado, Manny Machado, Manny Machado, Manny Machado, Manny Machado. I told him one time, I'm like, bro, if you leave these boxes out one more time, I'm snagging something like that. That was a fraternity that not a lot of people in the big leagues are in, bro.
When I came up, there was 6 guys. I was the 6th person. And I mean, we looked up to Jeter, we looked up to CC. Jeter was the first one, obviously. CC, Crawford, J. Rose. Then Gio Gonzalez was the first Latin guy to kind of like break that barrier. Mm-hmm. And then it was myself. Then came Dexter. Mookie came right after. Now there's a lot more guys. I think we cut it down now, actually.
Really?
There's 2 more Latin guys coming out.
Dude.
Fire. They just added 2 more, so there's 6 guys now total.
That's sick.
It's still small.
But it's just a small circle. It's a family.
It's still small.
You know?
And I feel like I want them to keep it like that. You know what I mean? Like that is an
Exclusive.
exclusive crew.
Exclusive.
I took Jack the other day to Monster Jam down there at Miami
nice.
Marlins Stadium.
Nice.
He loved it? First time I've been, dude, loved it. You know how like, so it's loud, whenever they rev the engine up, you're supposed to have the headphones on. I tried to put it on him, he ripped it off right away. And he was
What's that noise?
trucks. He's like, trucks. Yeah, he
Funny,
was loving it.
But Troy, like my son, never liked monster truck. He wasn't really like about that.
Give him a plane though.
No, you give him an airplane.
He's all about it.
How old is he?
He's 8.
He's 8? It's
Yeah.
amazing to see what they gravitate to.
Airplanes. I mean, he's been on airplanes since he was 6 months old.
Does he play ball?
Plays a little ball, soccer, jiu-jitsu. He's into, he wants to sail now all of a sudden. He wants to be a sailor. My bro. The only sailing we do is from Cuba to Miami, dog. That's about it, bro.
Fencing.
That's about
Into
it, bro.
fencing a little bit.
Yeah. Ain't nothing else, bro. We 90 miles and we good. We don't get on a boat anymore. We just kind of luxury. Like, hang out, have a good time.
Oh,
Yeah.
man.
I got a funny jiu-jitsu story. So born and raised in Los Angeles, city of Torrance. And so across the street, we had this family, they just loved jiu-jitsu. So back in the 90s, like I'm walking to school or walking to baseball practice, and I'd see the whole family in their white gis and they're like rolling around like in the garage. The 2 kids were some of my best friends. I'm like, this is weird. So their grandpa is like, Justin, come do jujitsu with us. You have a long, lanky body. You'd be great at it. This is like in 92, 93. I'm like, no, I'm good. He's like, it's gonna be big. It's gonna be big. I'm like, no, I'm good. And so time passes, and then they're gonna put on a big event, and they're like, Justin, you got to come to this event. It's going to be amazing. It's called Ultimate Fighter Championship. It's awesome. Number 1. It's going to be the first one ever. It's going to be big. I'm like, no, it's not. It's not going to be big. I'm not going to do it. This family is the Gracies. So the grandfather is Helio Gracie, and the Hoist Gracie won UFC 1 and then on up, and they're the ones who started all this jiu-jitsu thing in Brazil. And so now I look back, it's one of my big regrets. I wish I would have practiced or learned jiu-jitsu at a young age. Yeah, but it's huge, great discipline.
It's funny, sometimes I watch like the Joe Rogans back in the day, like, and just like watching that and how he was doing the game, like the commentating on all the fights and all that. Dude, he was doing it for free.
Mm-hmm. Yes, the first like
for free.
10, 15 episodes or first whatever fights.
Like Dana White even said it. He's like, it was for free.
Yeah. You'd have a sumo wrestler versus a kickboxer, and it was just insane.
Yeah. I saw that. Dana White said when they purchased the UFC, he went through like all these different tapes, and it was like hundreds of tapes, and he played a tape, and it was Joe Rogan on one of these like late night talk shows.
He used to do Believe It or Not.
Yeah,
remember the show Believe It or Not? Fear Factor. And that's how he liked him.
Yeah.
Fear Factor. And he liked, great show. Fear Factor.
Fear Factor was a great show back in the day.
Scorpions on your face, like just, I'm good. This is fine.
Yeah, dude. Yeah.
Head in a box.
Does that comedian, jiu-jitsu, like he's done a whole bunch of things. Do you think
he's a comedian?
A comedian?
Yeah.
Have you noticed players these days are diversifying as well? They're kind of getting into I mean, their own brands, and whether it be shoes or music or fashion or like, is that a trend that's starting to happen? Are players deliberately doing that? Say, you know what, let me go do other things and
It's a
not
great
just be
question for
defined.
Manny. You got underwears.
I mean, Ethica.
He's got J's too,
Dang.
baby. I
Got
got it
J's.
right.
Pablo came ready. Pablo came, he's showing up.
So I will say this. Let's transition over to the baseball world. There's a select few of guys that have a Jordan shoe deal. If you have this Jordan shoe deal, you are, there's a lot more guys nowadays that are in this.
Exclusive.
But back in the day when you were one of 5, one of 6,
Andrew Jones, Jeter, Machado.
There was
and
CC.
CC.
Baltimore, the visiting
Crawford.
cage.
The visiting
right
cage?
there.
Yeah.
Visiting
yeah,
cage.
I know exactly where
after you
Long-
walk 2 miles.
Yes, after you walk 2 miles to get there through the tunnel, which is hot and stuffy and all that, is boxes of Jordans. And it's just Manny Machado, Manny Machado, Manny Machado, Manny Machado, Manny Machado. I told him one time, I'm like, bro, if you leave these boxes out one more time, I'm
gone.
snagging something
Gone.
like that. That was a fraternity that not a lot of people in the big leagues are in, bro.
When I came up, there was 6 guys. I was the 6th person. And I mean, we looked up to Jeter, we looked up to CC. Jeter was the first one, obviously, CC, Crawford, J. Rose. Then Gio Gonzalez was the first Latin guy to kind of like break that barrier. And then it was myself. Then came Dexter, Mookie came right after. Now there's a lot more guys. I think we cut it down now, actually.
Really?
There's 2 more Latin guys coming out.
Dude.
Fire. They just added 2 more, so there's 6 guys now total.
That's sick.
It's still small.
But it's just a small circle. It's a family,
Still small.
you know?
And I feel like I want them to keep it like that. You know what I mean? Like that is an
Exclusive.
exclusive crew.
Exclusive.
Speaking of exclusive crews, the Miami crew, the South Florida, like
that group.
if you came up in Miami through high school, Miami through summer ball, college, all that type of stuff, the route was you played for the Florida Bombers, which Yonder was the first baseman on the team, and then I took over as the first baseman after him.
Fairly good pedigree.
There was
Yeah.
the University of Miami, and then everybody in South Florida, like if you played on both those teams, you knew all about those guys, you followed their whole career, you did all that stuff. And then step further in the off season, you guys would work out in Miami and work out at the U and all that type of things. And you guys have been doing this for, years and years and years. And some people know, many don't. Yene, your sister, Manny met Yene through those workouts, through you, I'm sure. So you guys have a long history with each other and our family, and it's come to a point now where it's like, Yene and Manny been married for years. There's kids coming along. So how strong is that? And that's a Miami bond that got even stronger.
I
right?
think I'll take it even like further than that. I think it's just like the Latin culture as well. Like, I think, that could have happened in Miami, that could have happened in Wyoming, that could have happened in Cuba or the Dominican Republic. I just think it's more of just like who we are, how we came up, I guess our culture with our parents and everything like that. But it's just like, just taking care of your own, right? Taking care of your people, taking care of people that you see something even better than their present lifestyle, right? You see them for something and you're like, you know what? I can maybe better you. I can maybe advise you. I can maybe be like, and I'm talking at this stage, you were 17, right? And I was 21.
It was your first year?
Yeah, so it was like my first year.
Cincinnati.
And I remember like he hit me up and I was like, how'd you get my number? And he's like, I got it through.
Yo, leave me alone.
It was like, it was just this like kid.
I'm trying to be like him,
I was
at the time.
Yeah, I remember I was like, how'd you get my number, man? And back then it was like the iPhone had just come out, So it was great. It was awesome. He was in high school, and I was pro, and I was like, look, I can't work out with you because if you end up going to college, it would ruin like there's so many rules in university like D1 and all that stuff. It would ruin kind of like your ability to go to a Division I school. How about we do this? Hit me up. So during this time, there was still like 8 months left till his draft. He was a senior.
I was going into my senior year.
At Brito High, which is a stack house of a school that has had great players. So I was like, look, bro, if you really want to work out, hit me up in 8 months. And if you go pro, which I think you will, then hit me up. And for sure, we'll work out.
Yeah.
forget about it. I like completely forget about it. I'm like, all right, I'm getting ready for my season, whatever. He's doing his thing. Yo, my man, 8 months to the day, and homeboy calls me, and he's like, hey, remember me? Like, it's been 8 months. I got drafted. I'm gonna sign. I was 2nd pick overall, and I was like, all right, meet me at UM, next morning. So,
I mean, it's like you said, like it's the Miami thing, like I looked up to him, looked up to the guys that grew up in Miami, playing Miami, University of Miami. So you kind of want to gravitate that. He's had success, so I'm like, I want to follow that path.
I remember watching Haas at a baseball camp at UM, and he went to a baseball camp at UM, a Christmas camp, never forget. And I was flipping like balls, and I think he was probably like a freshman or sophomore in high school, and I was like, that ball would hit the fence, and it was just different. It was like a college dude, but he was a sophomore in high school, and I was like, all right, this is different. Who's this guy? And then I was like, introduced myself. We actually met during that time, and that was 20 years ago.
Yes.
It's gonna be 20 years.
Yeah.
Probably.
Which is wild.
Wild.
Welcome to the old age, brother.
And then it's funny because you see the transitions of obviously age and I guess players, but how they mature as well. Like I remember this guy, man, like he didn't know how to do a squat his first day. Like he couldn't do a squat.
Still can't.
Nah. He's clean now. He's athletic. Like you can just see like a kid that, was maybe like we were just coming on the way over here, like eating Taco Bell, rather than like, hey man, like maybe you got to stay off the Taco Bell, man. Right. It's not going to be good for you. Maybe in the long run, or like making sure you eat well, or like, hydrate, do this, do that.
Did you listen?
Yeah.
Sometimes.
I mean, he's played 15 years. I think.
I think it's
Still eat
worked,
my McDonald's.
15, got 10 left, buddy.
Buddy, 10 left.
Yeah.
Still got 10 left, buddy.
10 left.
10.
But that's, Su'a, we talk about this, the city, like where you come from, the guys that are successful there, you want to do everything they do.
Right.
And these guys were the guys that laid that groundwork for Manny and myself to come up and be like, all right, I know if I'm on this team or if I'm going here or I get this opportunity, I'm on the right path. And then to take it a step further, the off season, life, business, other stuff comes at you. It's like, man, like just school me on the game. Tell me what to do.
Yeah. I think that's, if anything, we kind of brought that, I guess that culture, because then we've seen like the Vanderbilt guys do it, right? We've seen like all these like USC guys are doing it, UCLA guys are doing it now, right? And so the North Tar Heel guys are doing it. So I think you see a lot more of that, but I'm gonna kind of be biased about it, and I think it really started at that Miami like times.
I mean, we have the best weather. I mean, it's
everybody hangs out.
Everyone hangs out. Dinners. I mean, you're in Miami. Like there's no better place to work out, hit. You have the facilities. You have whatever you need was there for you. You know. So, I mean, it's a brotherhood. Baseball's a brotherhood to begin with, right? And then now you have a brotherhood that's in your own city that you could see firsthand how they grow, how they go about their business, how, they're so successful in whatever it is. Obviously in this fact is baseball.
Yep.
So you want to surround yourself with those people.
Yep. I'm seeing a pattern just as all of our conversations. We've talked to elite level baseball players, and it's going to be really cool. But then you learn about the Kobes, the LeBrons. Anyone who wants to be great, it's amazing how they're students of the game. They're willing to call the generation above ahead or even watch videos and just say, hey, let me copy his moves. And Jordan, I think he said, Kobe just would always call me up and ask me questions. Just hearing you're 17 years old. My question for you guys is, does it frustrate you when a younger generation player isn't coachable or doesn't want to get great, where you're like, oh my gosh.
I think maybe I have two answers, because I think when I played, I would have been, when I played, I retired obviously 3 years ago, but when I played, I probably didn't have the patience, and I'm not the greatest of patience with younger players, but even then now more, I have much more patience, because it kind of takes me back to, hey, what were you doing at 19?
We can get into that if you like.
You know what I'm saying? So what was I doing at 19? Was I this hothead? Did I think I had it all figured out? And I always tell like these young kids, and I'm like, look, man, it's all good. Do you want to go through the wall or around the wall? I can give you the secret to maybe not go through the wall as much and maybe go around it, which is great. I mean, listen, it's great. I wish I had that. Or do you want to go through it? All good. We'll go both ways. If you want to go through it, all right, man, here we go. We're going to hammer it down. But if you want to go around it, okay, then let's go.
That's a two-part thing too. That's one thing to have the leadership, but it's one thing to have a kid that's willing to listen too. I was at an age, 19 years old. You couldn't tell me anything. I knew everything. I was 19. I was in pro ball. I wasn't very good, but I was still in pro ball, and I was from Australia. I was this guy that, you know, I was making my own way, but no, I wouldn't listen to anybody. And it took aging and maturing and growing up to be able to realize that everybody was just trying to help me. It's not, no one's against you.
It was funny, like I was just in Texas and I was talking to Adolis Garcia, 8 home runs, 22 RBIs in the postseason. And I asked him like what did you learn from that? And I was like, you know what? I actually didn't learn so much from myself, but I learned a lot more from a lot of other people, how they handled the situation, how they learned about it, how they adjusted throughout like the whole series in the World Series. And moving forward, I asked a lot of questions because like I was just telling you, like as soon as you get done with the World Series, like you guys know, you guys have played in a couple of them, you don't have that much time to kind of like turn it around. Like the season's around the corner again. So that's a whole adjustment. And I think with these great like players like Tiger, Kobe, himself, yourself, you guys weren't scared to adjust. You know, you guys understood who you guys were. You guys had that base of goodness and like what you guys can bring to the table, but you guys aren't scared to adjust. And that takes a different animal because these players nowadays, like the young ones, they have this ego about them, but it's very hard to kind of mold them into saying it's okay to adjust. It's okay to kind of change a little bit. Change is good. So.
It's a failure thing we were talking about a little bit early on. That it's the fear of failure a lot of the time that stops guys.
That's a big part of it.
That's big. It's probably the biggest one.
And the willingness to adapt, right? Because like as your career goes on, the older you get, it goes from getting work in on the baseball side of it, and you get a little bit older, then it's like, all right, I got to get work on my body. I got to make sure my body's ready to go. So, and we're not trying to get in all this and whatever, but you know, there's certain stuff which I would love to pick your brain because now your brother-in-law, you're in media, and there's stuff being said about certain players, and there's lack of information. So
A lot.
yeah, we're not going to bring up names or anything like that.
A lot of
but
lack
like,
of information.
when people come out and say like, "Oh, this dude's not working hard. I don't see him on the field." You take a stop and you're like, "Hold on. Like, do you understand the process? Are you in the building? Do you see what's going on?" Like,
Who did you ask? Like, where are you getting your shit from?
Yeah, like where are we getting this information from? You know, I've seen this guy is paid and he's guaranteed for the next 10 plus years, and he drove from Arizona to San Diego to Colorado because it was less inflammation on his leg when he twisted his ankle or leg, whatever it was. So like, how hard is it for you now, especially working in that industry and having to bite your tongue? Because it's like, listen, I can tell you what's going on behind the scenes, but at the end of the day, like I still got to stay professional and do my job.
Yeah, and like we were just talking about that on the way over here. I only have one rule when I started this, and like the great like Harold Reynolds, who has been in the game in the industry for over 40 years. He's a pioneer when it comes to the media outlet. I mean, I remember watching him when I was 11 years old in Baseball Tonight, right? And now I have a chance to like work with him at the network. And one of my first days at the network, I went straight to his office because he had been to the University of Miami. He's great friends with Jim Morris, who was the coach there at Miami. So I introduced myself. Obviously, he knew of me and all that stuff. And I asked him, I was like, "Hey man, if you have any advice for me, like what would it be, man?" And he kind of like chuckled a little bit. He's like, nobody's ever asked me that. And he said, but I'll give you one that I always use. And I think if you use this, it would always help you in every way possible. And it's bros before the show. The brothers and the brotherhood in the league tops every show that you're ever gonna see, because a 1 hour show cannot be a sacrifice for the brotherhood that you've played in and that you know, and that will continue to be a brotherhood for years and years and years before the show even like says, all right, we're gonna end this show forever, So I think for me, it's just bros before the show, and understand like I was a player too, man. Like this game ain't easy, So
Okay, so I got one. I'm gonna dig deep right here. You ready? Papa's got his median shoes on right now. Let's go.
Papa's ready. He's got the J's on.
So this guy right here, this guy has an ability to, at the end of the day, not give a f what anybody thinks about him. I'm the opposite. I want everybody to like me.
yeah.
So when we're out in San Diego you know, there's certain things, I'm trying to say the right things to media, I'm trying to do this the right way, blah, blah, blah. And at the end of the day, like, there's stuff that's written about you that is so not true, but you don't care because you know all your boys in the clubhouse, everybody you've ever played with, they know who you are. So how do you juggle that so good and not caring what the public thinks about you, but knowing your boys know the truth? Like how do you go about that with such ease?
I mean, it's not easy, obviously, you know, but I mean, you read the articles, you read the reports, you read what they're saying. Whoever tells you they don't read is a liar. Yeah. That's number one. Everyone reads. You know, do we care about it? Do we put too much into it? Probably not, right? We'll just read it though. But I mean, at the end of the day, like, I just care about the guys that are inside that clubhouse. Like, if I know that I'm boys with you and I have your back and I know you have my back, that's all that matters. I don't care about what a reporter says or an article is written, because they're not there 24/7 with you. Like, we go out to dinner, we're on a flight, you know, we're on the bus. Like, we spend more time with the guys in this group or in the guys in that clubhouse than anybody else in our families, you know, than our loved ones and our wives. But it's just about the guys that are in there. That's all I care about. You know, if for me it hurts is like if a player comes out and says something about me that it's my teammate, now that's gonna hurt me more than if someone writes something about me, right?
Right.
Like, it's their job to write, it's their job to report, it's their job to do that, and I understand that completely. But at the end of the day, it's for me, what's deep down inside is what you think about me.
And I know there was guys in Atlanta that you played with, but it got to the point to where my last couple of years in San Diego, it was like, all right, we're like, you look up to the leader on your team, right? Manny was leading that team. So it got to the point where it's like, dude, like me and like, I'm getting older. I won a championship in Kansas City already. I'm like, dude, like, I want to build this guy's legacy up because I want to see him win a championship. So then I can tell people, yeah, I played with this dude. I was part of that. So like, I already know in Atlanta, there was dudes that were like, all right, this guy is a guy that leads by example. This guy is everything that I ever want in a teammate. Like, who are some of those guys that you're like, bro, I'm gonna go above and beyond for this guy because I want it for him that bad?
I just wanted to hit on you real quick because your reputation, when I watched you from across, when you weren't taking me deep, when I watched you across, it was like, okay, he's young, he's learning things, but then anybody that ever spoke about you to me who had played with you was like, he is unbelievable. He's one of the best dudes you're ever going to play with. So just wanted to point that out to you real quick, just to let you know that the league knows what the real you is.
We mature. I mean, we were talking about earlier. I mean, it's sometimes when you're younger, you do some shit that, you know, it's not uncalled for. But I mean, it's about maturity. I mean, you learn, and again, it's about my teammates. I care about my teammates, and I'm gonna have their backs no matter what at all times. And you know, we had a good thing in San Diego going. It's good cop, bad cop. You know, Pablo was always the guy that was the leader of the clubhouse, and I was kind of a little bit more vocal and stuff, and everyone would go to Pablo for stuff. You know, hey, what do you got on this? Or, you know, advice. And so like,
is Manny mad at me? No, you're good.
You're good. I mean, it's just, you gotta, you know, sometimes you gotta get some tough love to these young guys we're talking about.
But there's no better clubhouse than having that.
Yeah.
Like, I don't mean this like in a very negative way, but there needs to be a couple assholes in a clubhouse.
David Ross. I was going to bring it up.
Like
David
the honest truth, man.
Rossi.
Just like
catcher,
an ass
veteran,
coach.
yeah.
Like, there's got to be a guy that's like, I can't stand this guy. But then when you go home or the season's over, you're like, man, that guy made me a better player. You know, like, obviously don't cross the line and things like that, but there's nothing better than that. Like, when you have a little bit of that, if everybody's too nice, I'm like, oh boy.
Yeah.
It's gonna be a rough year.
You don't want that.
Well, it's either that or like May 1st happens and you start looking at the box score and you start knowing like your average and your home runs, and now real men come out because now now the realness is gonna come out, right? You're not nice anymore. So it's like, which one are you?
I think it allows the teams to relax a little bit too, because it takes some of the pressure off. You know, someone who's there, who's going to police the team within the team. It's not the manager's job to come in there and be like, pointing fingers. It's the group. You're a unit. You are going to win this together, and someone has to police it.
So what do you got on that? Because in my experience from it, trying to be like an everyday guy and be that guy in the clubhouse, it's not realistic, right?
It's tough.
It's not.
Like you need guys that are role players and they can get that heartbeat while they're out in the field. I'm in the dugout. I'm seeing how this guy's handling things. I'm seeing how he's handling it in the clubhouse at 6:30 when you're out in the field getting ready.
It's so true because you think about football. So football has like leadership councils with the players. They actually meet together, they make decisions together. And then basketball, obviously, you can have a dominant player who kind of takes over. Baseball is really interesting because there's no leadership council or like so occasionally you have the C's, some guys with the captains. But to echo what you said with the Tampa Bay Rays, every single player who comes either goes to San Diego from the Rays or has come to the Rays from San Diego, every single one of them mentioned your name, saying that guy's one of the best leaders that I've seen. And so it takes that one person to say, you know what, not only am I just gonna mature, it sounds like not only did you mature, but you said, you know, I'm not only gonna mature, but I'm gonna take a role in the development of this clubhouse. So my question for you is, I heard it so many times, I've always wanted to ask you this, what is your philosophy on leadership as a leader yourself?
Lead by example. It's simple. Lead by example. I mean, it's simple. You got to go out there and show that you're going to war every single day, and I'm going to post up every single day. If I do that, then everything else is easy. I could have a conversation. You could show them what to do. You could give them advice and whatever. But if you don't lead by example, if you don't go out there and you post, what are you showing your teammates?
Yeah.
Right?
There was a game his first year in San Diego. It was in like June or July. You came into the field, you get there around 4 or 5 o'clock, and this dude is pale as a ghost. I mean, the flu, and he's throwing up every 2 seconds. He's on the training table like this. And we're like, oh, man, he ain't playing today. Whoever the extra infielder was, we're like, hey, buddy, go take some ground balls at third. He ain't doing it, whatever. And 6:59, dude, this dude comes rolling off the training table like this, puts his uniform on. He's like, no, I'm playing. I'm going out there, I'm playing. And that message from that point on, those 5 at-bats, those 9 innings, went so far than that actual night because from that point on, nobody in the whole entire organization, not even players, but staff, anybody, you can't say, I'm not coming to work today because I don't feel good or I don't whatever. He talks in every hitter's meeting. He talks in all this and fundamentals, whatever. But that lead by example is something that you just can't quantify. And when you see the dude doing that, being paid, guaranteed money, there's nothing you can say from that point on.
This is where I think the game has changed a little bit. Where like Manny, yourself, myself, yourself as well, when we first came up, there were 3 or 4 veteran guys. You know, older guys, like I know for me, like I had Miguel Cairo, Ramon Hernandez, Johnny Gomes, Edgar Renteria. Those were my veterans, right? And those were the guys that Scott Rowland, he had 3 herniated discs, and somehow, some way, guy was playing third base and, you know, diving at balls all day long and was a Gold Glover. But I think that being able, because I know both of you guys had that, right? JJ Hardy, right? You had Adam Jones, like you saw these guys, Markakis. These guys were posting every day, and I don't know necessarily if that's happening. I mean, now today, I don't think there's not that many veterans. There's not your 36, 37, 38-year-old anymore. That's like, hey, man.
Right.
Yeah, like I remember I was saying this story the other day. Like I remember when I got called up from Cincinnati, I was so excited. Dude, I was so excited. And I got called up. I thought I had like graduated from college. And I walk in, and it's like the 3rd inning of a Reds game. And I walk in with my bag, and I'm like saying what's up to the clubbies, like, what's up, man? Haven't seen you since spring, man. Life is great. I'm in the big leagues. Give me my $135 meal money. Like, that's all I was thinking about.
Let me get that envelope.
Like, give me that envelope. Straight cash.
Straight cash. I'll be right
Straight
there,
cash,
baby.
baby. And I was like, yeah. And Miguel Cairo, I'll never forget this, bro. Miguel Cairo walked into that clubhouse, and he's like, what the fuck are you smiling about? And I was like, what's up, bro? And he's like, get dressed, bro. You're probably gonna pinch hit. Get dressed, get in the dugout, make sure you say what's up to Dusty Baker so he knows you're here, because you're in the lineup. Ain't no time for laughing. Say what's up to the clubbies later. And like that was like wake up call, big leagues, like your moment, like where you think it's gonna be super cool and dandy. It's like, oh, what's happening? And like you go into the dugout and Miguel Caro is waiting for you with like a folder of the pitcher, and he's like, you're probably gonna face this guy, or this guy. Go get him.
Ready to go.
Yeah, go get him.
So it's like you say,
a veteran.
It's missing. That's missing in the game.
I think that's
Obviously,
missing.
the
I
game's
think
younger.
that's like missing. You know,
Right.
that's the reason why like maybe he's like matured and you're seeing like this different cat that came up, had in his locker like only small talk, right? Like right. He
I
didn't
gotta
want
bring that
small
back.
talk.
I gotta bring that
Like
back.
he wanted a real conversation yourself. Like you had veterans that were incredible too during those Kansas City Royals like runs, right? And I had the same. So I just think like that's a big part that's missing. And people are lucky to have him, like or another veteran, yourself, when there was young, like Cronenworth. He had you, you know, like that's a big part that he'll never forget that.
Definitely. And I think guys like yourself have realized, you know, there's not many of those guys, those role guys there. So I got to make it a point to be that guy and school this guy on some stuff. And like you said, real quick, like you said with Scott Rowland, like you said, 2 hernias, 2 surgeries, whatever. I don't need Scott Rowland outside every day taking ground balls.
No.
I need Scott Rowland making sure his body is ready to go.
Yeah.
Ready to go for 7 o'clock.
Yes.
Like me and
he's
Todd
earned that
Frazier,
right.
Scott Rowland was so beat up that he couldn't bend down to pick up the balls in the batting cages. So he would swing and he would do his routine, like 40 swings. He's like, I'm good. My back, my neck. Like he would talk to you and he would turn. Like, and I was like, how's this guy gonna play?
You're still playing third base every day too?
Playing third base every day. And he was, and like me and Todd Frazier, after his routine was done, we would go in as rookies and we're like, bro, we got the balls, man. Like, go to the training room.
Mm-hmm.
We got the balls. Like, we would just pick up the balls just because we understood what he was teaching us, and he didn't even understand that, like at that moment. He was just trying to fight a demon that he had in his back, you know? But he was teaching us something, like, if that guy's doing it, bro, you better play with a little hammy or a little oblique, like you better play, you know?
And that's where like the next level of stuff of, okay, like Rachel has asked us before on here on the first episode, like, do you think guys should take BP, shouldn't take BP? What's your thing? What's your take on that? Whatever. And it's like, okay, if you're gonna tell me and you're gonna establish your routine, you need to have earned that right.
Mm-hmm.
You know, this guy's got 13 plus years in the big leagues. He's had a couple knee surgeries. So he's earned that right to be on the training table until 5, 6 o'clock and
Getting
then
some
go
coach work.
and get your work in at that point in that time.
Yeah.
But the whole like, no, you need to check this box, check this box, and check this box. It's not like that. You know what I mean? So like a big part of that is earning that right to establish your own routine, because he takes it a step further than just the season, to where in the off season, he's working out, he's eating the way he knows. So that's where it goes above and beyond.
Yeah.
I will say this, like, even the camaraderie, I think that my last couple years, I really like to mess around with the rookies in a very good way, right? A very like, but there was times like I would, you know, I was just, it would go a little further, but it was all cool. It was the boys, like it was the guys in the clubhouse. And one thing that taught me is like Johnny Gomes and Arthur Rhodes and those guys
Rhodes.
Dude, they would
I faced
crush
that
me.
We're talking about a different. We're talking about that different
They
era
would
today.
crush me.
You should not be facing Arthur Rhodes.
They would crush me.
Mop
Yeah.
up, mop up, bitch.
But I'll take it a step like even further than that. They would
I'm not
crush
gonna
me
try
all
Arthur.
weekend.
He has no business facing Arthur Rhodes.
No.
Shout out to
no,
Arthur. I don't mean no
business.
disrespect.
That was for us.
Yeah.
Yeah. But he would like mess with us all weekend, and then he'll be like, "Hey man, I got your dues this weekend."
Right.
You know, I was like,
So there's a message there. It wasn't just. We were talking earlier.
yeah.
That's
He's
what I
like,
was going to say.
you understood the message, right? Like you got it.
off my
I got your
The
dues. but
old
you got it.
school, like when I first came up, I was 27 years old, signed out of the WBC. I'm from Australia, haven't played pro ball in 8 years, and I get called up 2 weeks into my AAA season, and I'm like, here we go. And I walk in, and Andrew Jones is there, and everybody's there, and there was
Crazy.
that culture of, who is this clown, and where's he come from, and who does he think he is? And I had that already bubbly personality that wasn't received well. I can rub people the wrong way. I get that. My jokes sometimes hit, they sometimes don't. But early on in my days, it was like, I tried so hard to be what somebody expected me to be and to have everybody like me that it came off as just this knob jockey.
I'll tell you this about the Braves. I had a spring training there, and I played with 9 teams.
COVID year, right?
Yeah, there's no team that
He was using that
felt-
aimbot with
Dude.
Henry Gree on Call of Duty. He was using that aimbot on Call of Duty online.
There
bro.
was
Yeah.
there's no team that I was like, holy shit. I don't know if it was because I grew up watching them so much
I mean, that's
in Miami.
TBS.
Like in Miami, it was TBS. So like I grew up watching the Braves. But like just, I'll never forget, like Hank Aaron, he was on our, it was Javi Lopez, it was Greg Maddox, it was John Smotes, Andrew Jones, Furcal,
Maddox.
Klesko. Those were in the meeting, those were the guys that were on the meeting. Like the first meeting ever, it was all of them were there. And I was like, holy shit, like this is real. Like these dudes are all Hall of Famers. And like I grew up watching all these dudes and they were there in spring training. Like this is what we expect. We expect you to win the division. We expect you to get to the World Series and we expect you to win the World Series. It's like, all right, go get them, guys. First day of spring. It's like, oh.
I can literally name that whole Braves lineup, the batting order to positions and all
incredible.
that.
Stacked.
Incredible.
They were stacked.
We always talk about like adapting, right? Adapting with time and kind of growing and all that type of stuff. So as a leader and as, you know, the guy in the clubhouse, coming from playing for a guy like Buck Showalter, to where it's like, bro, if you are
military
3 years or less, you are playing every single day in spring training. You're playing every single day during the season.
Every road trip.
You're doing everything. Okay, when the Baltimore Orioles are playing baseball, you will be out there at third base and you will do that. So how hard, and I watched it firsthand, you did it so well, how hard was it adapting to then like a young Toddy coming to spring training and it's like, all right, buddy, you're gonna play once every 2 days. We're gonna give you steak on the third day, and you're gonna be like,
No road trips.
yeah,
No road
like not
trips.
to
you
be
got a
nice.
DH spot here.
Right.
Never
Yeah.
DH.
Stay off your legs.
They got a nice schedule. So as a leader of a guy, it's hard not to be like, hey, I had to do this. You need to do this too.
Yeah.
But now this new age, like we talk about, it's not the get off my couch. You need to have more than 3 years to sit on there. It's like, dude, like we need everybody pulling on the same rope, and we need this guy to win. So like that was an adjustment, I'm sure, of leading and adapting towards that.
It's still hard. It's still hard, honestly. Like, you know, for me, like I know my stats are gonna be at the end of the year. I obviously want to win a World Series, so we're gonna need these guys, right? But for me, I think the biggest important part is I want to, like, baseball's gonna continue. I'll be gone in 10 years, you know, and baseball's gonna continue. I want that when I came up, you know, Jonesy, JJ, like they're, you know, taught by the guys before them, right? Then they taught me, right? Now I want to teach the next generation that this legacy's still going on, right? The little things where it's like 3 years of service, you know, you're going on every road trip, you're wearing your jersey out there, you know, you're not gonna get the special treatment unless you got service time, right? So like I want to continue that, and hopefully like that continues in the future, right? In 20 years. The game's changing now. The game's, like you said, the guys aren't going on road trips, the guys, I guess, special treatment, you know, and you're over here, I'm going on a road trip and some of these guys are staying back and you're like, why is this guy getting back at bats? Like he's 20 years old. I was 27 at the time. Like, give me some time. I've been playing every game for the last 6-7 years. Like, you know, I've earned the right? But it's tough to adjust. But like you said, man, like I need these guys. Like right now, I got Jackson Merrill, Marcy. Some of these guys are gonna make the team that, you know, at the end of the day, like we need them to go out there and ball out. Like I need them to feel as comfortable as possible to go out there and play, to go out there and perform, to feel comfortable to go and play. Big leagues isn't easy. It isn't easy. You go up there and you know, we go to Dodger Stadium and 50,000 fans are booing me and you're like, oh man, what they're doing that to him? Like it's intimidating, right? For a young kid to hear that. I've been through it. I'm fine. I'm good. You know, but these young kids seeing it, so it's, you know, I want them to feel as good, but at the same time, like I'm still giving them that, like that tough love, like that, hey, you know, I'm gonna cut some slack on you. You can wear your hoodie every once in a while, but I wanna see your jerseys. I don't know who you are. Who are you? Yeah. I don't know your face. I haven't played with you. You know, are you a prospect? You know, no, I wanna see your jersey so when you're running down the line and we're stretching together, I know who you are. I can get to know you, right? You know, I came up like that. I had to wear my jersey. I was wearing 85. These kids got now 32,
Yeah.
you know, 24, 6'2", 6'1".
What?
You know, these guys are asking for their numbers.
Yeah.
I'm like,
My biggest fear is going to spring
You
training
know?
and being like, let me see that number. Damn, 77? The umpire strike zone is going to be like that, bro. True or not true?
true.
Very true.
I just think like the players today too, and they're smarter than ever. I think these players are smart as shit. Like you look at these 15, 16-year-olds, man, they can tell you 12 weeks of what they did in the offseason.
Yeah, but
what
are they
ate, what they drank,
baseball
what-
smart?
Now I think that
They're not teaching that.
They're not teaching
teaching,
that.
right?
They're not
They're
teaching it. It's
that.
not that they don't have it.
Yeah,
Because they
they don't
learn.
have that veteran. Like for me, the way I kind of like talk about it is, like I grew up with an old school like household where if you didn't do something, it wasn't timeout. It was, here's a spanking, here's your chancleta, and we're gonna kick your ass, and your ass is gonna be like, I learned my lesson. Where now it's like, oh, it's okay, we're gonna go timeout, and we're good. And then like, you're gonna do it again, you know? And maybe like the third or fourth time, you're gonna be like, all right, like I can't do that again. Like this is the third or fourth time, I'm gonna get sent down, you know, if I do that again. And that's how I think we grew up. Like, and it's, I don't know if it's like for you, because like Marquez and I'm Jones and Weeders and all that, they learned from Cal Ripken. Like, bro, Cal Ripken, like that's who you learn how to grind every day. Like, I'm sorry, that's
if he's doing
that's
it, you
not fair. It's not fair, you know. It's not fair, you know. But
it's hard for me to tell kids to go out there and
It's hard.
grind
It's
every day.
hard, man.
But I can tell you to go out there and work every day.
Yeah.
You know, I can tell you to go out there and be the most prepared.
Controllables.
You know, you can control that stuff, but don't come here and show up late and, you know, just not go to the cage and work out or not get your treatment done. Like, you know, I'll tell you a story about this. There was my first year in the big leagues. I show up, first road trip. I was in the minor leagues, you know, on the bus, like we've all grinded. You know, I was doubling up on a 2-seater. My back was banged up, my hips are banged up. I get to the big leagues, you know, we got massage therapists. I was like, I get to first road trip. We go to Detroit. I get to
you got on the table?
I got to the field at 12 o'clock. 12 o'clock because they told me, hey, if you're gonna get worked on, gotta get there early. I was like, all right, cool. Got there at 12 o'clock. I told the massage therapist, hey, can you get my legs, flush them out right quick? You know, I'm super tight. All right, he starts massaging me, right? You know, in Detroit, you got that tunnel before you go down.
Steps.
It was right to the right of that.
Yeah.
There's a little
Curtains,
room. There's a little room right there.
There's a curtain there, right?
Still there.
Get some haircuts back there.
You get the haircuts. So I go in, I'm getting a massage.
Bro, you get a haircut and a massage at the same time. Which one do you want, bro?
2-for-1 special.
What do you want?
I think they've outlawed a lot of those places though.
And man, it was the worst day ever. Adam Jones shows up at 1 o'clock. The guy never shows up. I'm there getting work done. I look up and he just walks down. He's going to the cage. I think he was going to go out to hit early work. And he looks up and he's like, man, who's back there? And I look up, I'm like, oh, damn. put my head down. He goes, damn, man. I've been here 6 months and I still haven't gotten on that training table. And you've been here 2 days and you're on the training table already getting a massage? What's wrong with you? And he just walks out. I looked up and I told the guy,
Get done.
finish this leg and I'm out. Finish this leg and I'm out. He finished my leg. I got up. Never again did I ever step foot onto the massage table. And it was just little things like that. I got up. You know, I wasn't gonna get told again. I wasn't gonna, you know, get embarrassed again. You know, and he didn't embarrass me. He didn't say anything bad. He was just like, you know, just making a joke out of it, but at the same time, like teaching you a little lesson, right? And boy, did I learn. You know, so nowadays, I want the guys to get a massage, but at the same time, you still want to kind of like, hey, there's a time and place. You come early, you know, get here early.
It's interesting just hearing all of this, especially your comment when you're talking about how being raised. There's a quote that I love. It says, hard times make strong men. Strong men make good times. Good times make soft men. And what's really interesting about that is we could be raised a certain way, getting spanked or the discipline, and then we get raised or maybe we grew up broke. We didn't have money. We weren't able to go out and do this thing. And then you work hard, you make a lot of money, and then all of a sudden you're gonna provide more for your family. And then you look at your kids, I'm like, oh my gosh, when I was their age, they got it easy. Wait, what? And then all of a sudden they're not as tough as we were. And then it's then the cycle. And when you guys are talking, I thought, wow, that's really interesting. A lot of times it's just in generations, just in anything. It's, we look how we were, whether it be picked on or and we're like, no, I'm not, when I'm the leader, I'm not gonna do that. And then all of a sudden the pendulum swings the other way, but it's that balance. It's just different.
Yeah, everything's balanced, right?
Yeah.
Like the league, bro, your career is a balance. Like you look at your career from your first year to your last year and you're like, oh my God, like what did I go through? Like that's the way I felt. Like my happiest day was the day that I retired. Like
Really?
The day after. Oh, dude, it was like the most awesome day in the world. I woke up that morning and I had breakfast, and I was looking at him because we were in San Diego together, and he was like getting ready to go play that game, and I was here ordering a California burrito. Like, yo, let me get that California burrito, bro. Like, I'm good. I don't have to go 0 for 4 anymore, 4 for 4. I don't have to think about who I'm facing, the stress. Like, I remember, I was just telling you before this, like, sometimes I look at my like YouTube like interviews, and like the bags are under your eyes, and you can just go back to that moment or that time where you're like, boy, I was stressing. Like, I was stressing. My swing probably didn't feel right. My hammy hurt. My left knee was banged up. And like, you can just tell, right? Like, if you go back, and like, it's just great. Like, it's awesome.
That, in my opinion, I don't want to put words into your mouth, but when I hear that personally, when someone's like, it's a sign that it's a guy who emptied the tank. It's a guy who has lit. It's a guy who
I'm like,
no regrets.
I am not that guy that's like, I still could play.
Right.
Like,
or you,
nah, bro, I'm good.
Yeah, you're able to like, look back. But you're
a couple
Yeah.
of
I think I do.
He
Yeah.
was just telling me earlier. He's like, I can get these out. I know I can get these out.
Now with all this new data, man, I'll find my sinker again. I got this. This is there. It's like riding a bike.
I'll tell you what. I talked about this the other day with Greg Amsinger, because he asked me, he's like, when did you know you were like done?
Yeah.
And I was like, I'll tell you, Greg. We were warming up, and this is during COVID, like year. I was with you guys, and we were warming up on the grass, and I kept looking at that beautiful Bermuda, and I was like, boy, fucking pitching wedge right now. I would tear this grass up, and the spin I would get 130 yards is the way to go. Like, I wasn't thinking about my routine that day, my hitting. I was like, yo, you're thinking about a golf course. Like, what are we doing here? You know, you gotta go.
How long after that did you realize that you were going to have a role in media like you do?
Did
Did you fall into that, or you just?
Yeah, I fell into that.
So, okay, let's dig a little deeper into that, because you didn't just fall into stuff. You're everywhere in the media.
Yeah.
And like I told you, the WBC, you were calling games, bro. And I was, it was the closest thing. I watch football. As Manny knows, I take his money every year in fantasy.
I know about that.
Yeah, you know that.
I know about that.
You do.
So
Boy's a snake over here. You gotta be careful.
Hey, I got my research. I got my connects. They're letting
Got
me
nothing
know.
else to do, dude. That's all he does.
Boy talks about it from now. I bet you're gonna send a message to the group chat right now. Like, hey, who's ready for fantasy this year?
Hey, I got Adam Schefter texting me his list, ready to go.
You'll be
ready,
surprised
baby.
how much that fantasy group gets talked at the network by producers and directors.
Yeah, we got a pretty big
It's
time.
a big deal. That fantasy people want to know who won that league that year. And they're like, hey, who won the league? Who won that
it
league?
this year?
I had to pay Marisnik and Benintendi.
There we go.
They won it. But
Tyreek
okay,
Hill messed
so no, Tyreek Hill was unbelievable. But yeah, last couple
last
of weeks.
game he didn't play,
Last
and then-
couple of weeks. So when I watch football, when Tony Romo first got in the booth, he opened up my eyes to like, all right, Jim, this guy's gonna motion. If this defender doesn't move, they're gonna run. If he does move, then he's got the pass option here, boom, boom, boom.
Yeah.
And when I was watching WBC, I felt that same way in baseball terms of like the way you were breaking down the game.
Yeah.
And dude, like, that's 3.5 hours of a lot of like information you gotta give, a lot of downtime you gotta talk, and you were just flowing. Like where?
I think it was just like preparation. I was also super geeked for like the World Baseball Classic. It was one of those opportunities that kind of fell into my hand. Like it wasn't something I was talking about. It was just one day they were like, hey, we want you to be the guy that's going to be calling 15 games in the World Baseball Classic. And I was like, all right, cool. Where? He's like, no, Miami. And then I looked at the group and I was like, whoa. You know, DR, Puerto Rico, Venezuela. Like I knew right away, like this was going to be a hit. You know, and then I was home, and then preparation just started. And dude, it's like anything. Like the way I like do this whole, what goes in my brain is I only have 8 seconds to tune you in. Like that's all I got, 8 seconds. Like that's kind of the way I feel. Because when I'm watching TV, I'm all over the place when I'm watching TV. I'm like TNT, MLB Network, ESPN,
channel
Channel
surfing,
4,
bro.
NBC Channel 7,
Red Zone.
and I only got 8
Yeah.
seconds. And I'm 36 years old. So can you imagine a 14-year-old? So it's not 8 seconds, it's probably like 6. So I have to understand that I have to kind of intrigue the 8-year-old, teach him something in the game, but I also have the 55-year-old that's having a beer and that may not know so much about the game. So I want to put myself in a place where I'm kind of in a bar and I'm talking to you guys about the game. You guys don't know much about the game. And at the same time, I have to put myself in a place where I'm giving lessons.
You're an expert.
In baseball and kind of go that whole route. So the game tells you everything. Obviously, it's a blessing that I was able to finish playing and do that. So a lot of the things are still there, right? It's still happening. So, but it was just preparation, man. Just a lot of preparation and understanding what was happening, and then just have fun with it. I always felt like watching guys like do games. It was the old school kind of like slow honey. Right? And for me, it was like, the hell with that. I want wings, bro. Red Bull, let's go. Like, I'm gonna teach you, like, this is what's coming. Hey, it's gotta be a sweeper here. If it's not a sweeper because he's diving, where they're going up and in. Like, I need to see this guy right now on the ground. Like, that's how, and sure enough, boom, up and in. Like, all right, here we go. Like, it's a game now. So.
One of the biggest hurdles for me, and I told you guys this at the baptism in Miami, one of the biggest hurdles for me doing this now was to not be a douchebag and be like, hey, Manny, bro, you want to come on my podcast tomorrow? You know
Oh,
what
well,
I
I
mean?
don't think you ever be a douchebag.
Yeah,
I don't think that's in your bones, bro.
How did you separate that of you're going on the field for BP, you're going in the clubhouse?
That's
and
hard. That's still hard.
Yeah, like, how did you, because at the end of the day, dude, like, I was the first one when we were in the World Series,
Yeah.
and you know, this player we just eliminated is now doing media stuff. And I'm like,
Yeah,
hey, buddy,
yeah.
hey, you need
It's
some
hard,
tickets,
man.
buddy?
You've got to worry
The
about
reason you're out of here.
everybody too. I
Yeah.
had the pleasure of working for one team.
Yeah.
You're national. You're doing different teams all over the place. You've got to know the league. I know the Braves, and
I think
talk
you
to
hope
inside out.
that the people that you're asking watch your work of what you do, and you understand how real they are. Like, you know, I'm very transparent, but I also know, I've learned, not know, and I'm still learning on it, is how to maybe talk about a player that's not doing so well, but not bash them.
Yeah.
You know, like, there's no need to bash. Like, I know what 0 for 4 and 4 Ks is like. I know what's making an error in the 9th inning. I know what seeing a guy give up 8 runs in 1 inning. Like, I get that, man. Like, I know what's going on. But if I'm seeing something, I'm like, hey, look, I'll do a demo, I'll do this, or I'll do that. So I hope, like, they respect the work of what you do and understand what's happening. Like, I feel like all three of us and all of us here understand the media and understood, like, that's their job too, you know? They have to do their thing, bro. Like, that's just what it is. But you hope that hopefully when you do them, you don't catch them on a bad time, and you just be super transparent. Like, yo, man, I need you for 5, and it's gonna be 3 questions. Don't ask them 4, ask them 3.
Right.
Because then next month, I might need you again and be like, I need 4 out of you. And he's gonna know, like, I'm gonna walk in and get 4 questions and we're good, we're out.
Yeah, I think that's the worst part about conversation. Like, they ask you, hey, just one second. 1 second, can I just get one?
Yeah, they'll
one
keep
question?
it for 20 minutes.
And they got you there for 20 minutes.
No,
I'm like,
that's not okay.
Right.
you know?
You
Like,
lose
come
that
on,
trust
dude.
instantly.
You know, then I'm never gonna
Yeah.
talk to you ever again.
Yeah. I think that's the key. Just being, like, transparent and real with them, you know?
So you're talking about the media. What advice do you have for players now that you've been on both sides? What advice do you have to the players towards the media?
Look, I think the world has changed so much. And I think when you look at athletes, it's changed so much. And I think when you look at, you have to be able to adjust, right? We talked about adjusting. Just look at the players, like other players, other sports, right? Basketball, like, these guys they're their own, like, it's a company, man. It's a brand. Each player is a brand. Like, you can have the 12th guy on the bench. He has a brand. You're like, bro, who is this guy?
But
You know, and I
that
think
wasn't
that's what
allowed
baseball
for the
needs to do.
longest time too. You weren't allowed to be yourself. You weren't. When I first came up, I had to wear sleeves to cover my
Yeah.
tattoos.
Yeah.
I had to wear black shoes because that was 50% black. Like, there was all these rules.
Oh, boy, I
You
got
couldn't
fined.
do-
51%.
Yeah,
I got
couldn't
fined.
do shit.
Just that above
Just
that.
You
a-
couldn't
Yeah.
show personality.
Bro, you
at
would get
all.
fined, but Nike ID, you can do whatever you
want.
want on the cleats.
Right.
Yeah.
And it was like, this makes no sense.
They're gonna tickle you a little bit, you know? So you
It's true. You're right.
can do whatever you want, but we're gonna find you.
The black cleats, I remember that. I
Yeah.
do remember that. Yeah.
Now I feel like guys are encouraged more to be on social, to post some things, go through photo day with the occasional, like, hey man, we're like, teams are opening up to the fact that they need to promote their players
Yeah.
for them to generate interest. Otherwise the game's gonna die.
And they're trying to attract the young fans, right? Like, the game is international. Whether we like it or not, it's just not an American sport. It's an international sport. Like, the 2 best players right now in our game, one is Japanese, the other is Venezuelan. One hit 40 and 71 bags. The other one throws 105 and hits balls 500 feet.
Yeah.
One's from Japan, the other one's from Venezuela. So, you know, if you want to be like that, if you want to attract that, you got to be international. You got to be open to all these ideas.
At the end, like, as kids, like, we all put ourselves, like, what would we, like, look at? You know, like for me, it was, I wanted the Jordan batting gloves. I wanted what Derek Jeter was wearing, what Miguel Tejada was wearing, what Nomar Garcia Parra was wearing with the TPX, you know?
I'm glad you done that.
You know, that's what we wanted to wear. You know, we wanted that as kids. So like what you're saying, it's they're opening up the floodgates where, you know, let's show our, like, you know, our personalities out on the field. Let's see what color cleats you can wear, batting gloves, sleeves, whatever it is. Like, that's what attracts the fans. That's what fans want to see at the end of the day. It's not, you know, baseball's baseball.
Bro, it's funny you say that. I was in 2017 in Oakland. The clubby there had these old Eric Chavez like white shoes.
Pumas?
And let me tell you, bro, these things, these things were so thin. Like you can put them on and feel every cleat. But I wore them for one game because, like when I grew up watching the A's, I grew up Eric Chavez with 48 Gold Gloves and him doing his thing. And I was like, I gotta feel at least what Eric Chavez felt at the Coliseum with these cleats. Bro, that shit lasted 4 innings. It's like, give me my cleats because I cannot wear these things. But yeah, man, it was like just what you're saying. Like I wanted to be like these guys, man. You want to wear all their stuff, and that's what's happening in today's game. Like, come on, man. You want to open that, and why not?
Guys want to go a step further. Like I want to see Manny's locker. I want to see all the J's they're sending you. I want to see what kind of clothes they're sending you. I want to see that stuff. So in an age now where this player-driven media is kind of taking off, you know, football, it's proven now, NBA, it's proven now. And now with baseball, it's like, at the end of the day, like the player-driven media side, we're not trying to break news. Like I'm not trying to tell you so-and-so wants a trade, so-and-so wants to get opted out or wants an extension, whatever that is, whatever, blah, blah, blah. But I think in a day now where players are like, listen, like I got some insight I can share with you, or I got, you know, something behind the scenes that you don't know this guy can do that can help you at the end of the day. So I really do feel like it's adapting. And you are one of the first, you know, baseball guys to do that because you've taken a job at the network, but at the same time, you're going to Dominican doing stuff down there.
Yeah.
You're giving back to the community.
Yeah, for sure.
So you're growing that game.
Yeah, I definitely felt like when I got started, like that was one of my biggest like obstacles or I guess goals was to kind of show a little bit of life of, you know, what people go through in the Dominican or in Venezuela or in Puerto Rico. Like, I just think people don't really understand like what these guys go through. Like, so when you see a kid that just got here from Venezuela, there's a really long story behind it all. You know, like this kid was probably somewhere like in a jungle and he was hitting with a stick on a tree, you know, trying to throw coconuts down. That's why he threw so hard. Like that's real stories that are happening in like today's day. Like it really happens. Guys that are in the big leagues, they all have a story, man. And they all have probably a pretty good one too. So I wanted to show some light on that, and the network has given me the ability to be like full on go, man. And it's the best, dude. It's awesome. I love doing it. It's my favorite thing.
It's crazy to get into a place where, you know, we try to make it to the big leagues, right? And like we said, we have this Miami community and we feel like this is our community. These are our people. And now like Yonder's working for like promoting the game. Manny is one of the top guys in the game. So like to see people and to feel like, hey, like we're the ones that are going to be passing down knowledge on the game. Sure. We're the ones that are going to be reaching the youth. We're the ones that are going to be doing all that type of stuff. It's crazy to think about.
Yeah, absolutely.
But at the same time, it's pretty sweet, dude. Like we're the ones that are going to be able to do that for baseball, and that's a new wave that we're all trying to start.
Speaking of like swagger and stuff, did you do the Jordan like meeting on the Zoom with your new like shoes for this year? How was that?
Sick. I got fire coming this year.
Can you talk about that?
Absolutely.
What is it?
Just wait, baby.
Did Yana help you?
Huh?
Did you guys,
she always helps me, yeah.
Talk,
yeah, she does my designs most of the time.
Those meetings are, so I was a part of like one of them, what, 2 years ago?
2 years ago.
That was different,
yeah, it's a Zoom call. I mean,
yeah, but it's not just a Zoom call.
I mean, they show you everything, dude. I mean, we have like the ability to do whatever we want with our shoes. So last year I wanted to, you know, obviously with Kobe's passing, I wanted to do something for Kobe, right? So I did some cleats last year for Kobe that I had to kind of derail what I really wanted to do, which was to I want to do the Grinches. I want to do the Grinches, the neons. Yeah. I want to do that, but I wanted it to be exactly the same shoe, the same material, everything that it was on that Kobe shoe. So Nike hits us up. we go back, they get back to me like, well, we can't do it, because it's like a special material. It was only made for the Kobe's, and we're not able to get you that. We could do the print, but the print was not the same. Like if I'm gonna do the shoe, I wanna do the shoe. So I derailed with it. Couple months pass, they hit me up again. They're like, hey, we're doing them this year. So Nike ended up opening up the vault, and they're letting me do the neon votes with the actual material
That's so show.
of the Mamba mentality shoes on them. So
Manny was the reason I stopped trying to get good cleats, because I'm like, I can't
compare
compare with
right,
him.
exactly.
I can't compete with this guy. So let me just give me the stock and just
but you had-
whatever you got. Brother.
You
Just
had
send
swag, bro.
everything you got,
You had
bro.
swag. There's
I
something about
started,
lefty first. By the way, the game has. If you play first base, you should play lefty. Like just like a lefty left fielder.
This guy told me
you just have to
something.
look down at his hand, and it was already you get blinded by the gold.
Gold.
That's the slackest
was
thing ever. It's
not platinum, but it's gold,
Hey, I
man.
saw a clip. I saw a
Gold,
clip.
baby.
I saw a clip the other day of you wearing. You had gold cleats on, bro.
Yeah, sure did.
Gold cleats.
Yeah, hey, but it was the World Series. It was
I
the
saw
World
that.
Series. Wasn't
This
a regular
guy was
season
wearing
game.
gold
It wasn't a Tuesday
cleats.
in Kansas
Think
City.
about that. How ballsy you have to be like, I'm wearing gold cleats today.
Also had a mohawk. Also,
Gold cleats.
yeah.
Time to change.
Also walked out to It Goes Down in the DM. Holler at me, you know what I mean? But this guy told me something. He goes, bro, I knew from the first time I saw you in between innings roll a ground ball to a guy, I knew you can play first base. And like,
Roll the ball.
you just
Yeah.
know the position. You can see how the guy moves.
played there his whole life.
You see how it all goes.
I got like parents, like they'll be like, how do you know when you know your kid's like a ball player? Just the way he wears his uniform, kid. Like you either got it or you don't, If I see a kid wearing a uniform and like, you just know at 10 years old, like, just by wearing the uniform. It sounds so like.
It sounds silly.
But in Miami,
can
like the
just
kids
tell.
that are
You can
playing in
tell.
Miami, 10-year-olds, you can just tell. You're like, oh my God, that kid's gonna be good. He's 10. And if you go down to the DR, you'll definitely see that.
Oh yeah.
You'll be like, oh, this kid's 7? He'll be in the big leagues.
Seen
No worries.
videos of drills they're doing down there that are just these kids are running through
And
their
rock
hands are on
fields.
the
Yeah,
ball.
yeah,
Rock fields, there's rocks everywhere.
Yeah.
Just
Yeah,
catching them like
just
nothing.
flowing.
Yeah, you just know, But yeah, this guy, as soon as I saw him, I was like, oh man. Look, like speaking, it sounds crazy, but like, remember the day I went to your house and I wanted to change my swing?
Yeah.
And I was like, one night, 2016, I'm like, all right, I look up all the guys that had leg kicks because I wanted to change my swing. And I was like,
Yeah,
Hosmer's the
because you
guy.
were always a foot down guy.
Foot down guy. And I was like, Hosmer's the guy I gotta like talk to. And I remember like during the game, I was like, man, I gotta go to your house. I really wanna ask you about this swing. I wanna change my swing, but I need to learn more about your swing. Talk about like the Miami like bond. We hadn't really like hung out that much during that time.
It was in
Opened
Kansas
his
City.
doors to his apartment, hung out for like 5 hours. That we were doing straight dry hacks in his living room. Like he's like, all right, get
Yeah.
in your pose. And
That's
like, he's
amazing.
like, all right, this is what you're gonna do.
awesome, dude.
You gotta go back, you gotta do this. This is what's going on in your mind. It's like 3 a.m. and we're doing dry hacks.
Yep.
Like, you think players don't care? 3 a.m. doing dry hacks, like that's
Yeah.
just like Miami for you right
We
there.
were with Seattle. It was Danny Valencia and Dice. I lived with Dice in that
Yep.
year. We were all at the house.
Take me through that. Take me through the leg kick.
That was all.
Some of my best
fun.
memories are breaking down games post game in someone's hotel room, just sitting in the hotel room, shooting the shit, talking about what's going on, talking about the team, learning stuff from older guys. It's family. We keep
Yeah.
saying that. It keeps
That's
to be a
probably like
theme.
maybe the only thing I miss is that.
Mm.
Like just the after the game talking
Right.
and like hanging out. But even then, like nowadays, you get done with the game, bro, and like half the roster has left 20 minutes in.
COVID ruined that, bro.
Yeah.
Because before
Really?
COVID, because as you know, before COVID, the game ended at 10 o'clock. First bus is at 11. So I can shower,
Yeah,
I can
an
get my
hour.
treatment, I can eat, I go to whatever. COVID, it was the first 10 people get on the bus. The next 10 people get on the bus. So dudes were rushing to get to the bus and dudes were just trying to get out of there. You know what I mean?
Right.
Let me ask you
Wow.
this one.
Ruined a
And
lot.
That's crazy.
yeah,
crazy.
that's
Yeah, the
due to COVID.
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 You lose the cohesiveness,
Camaraderie.
the camaraderie of the
Yeah.
team.
Yeah.
That's when
everyone's
we all
bouncing, everyone's leaving.
We all started playing Call of Duty all
That's
the
what
time.
Call of Duty, yeah.
We all
Call of
brought our
Duty was hot.
laptops on the road. We would go, hey, like, all right, let's sign on in
The planes
10
were still
minutes.
Because that was the only way we could talk.
The plane
The
was
planes are
great.
still good.
Yeah.
That was the only way we could talk.
The plane was great. We would still play cards. We would have a great time.
There's nothing like a West Coast, East Coast plane ride.
5 hours.
Oh man.
That's a grind with San Diego, bro. Every flight is
Bro,
3-4
don't tell me. I
hours
was in
at
Oakland and
least.
Seattle.
Yeah.
Seattle's the
Seattle's
worst.
They're number one.
See,
Yeah.
somebody asked
The
me Seattle. Someone's like, "Why do you think Seattle hasn't
travel.
made the playoffs?" I said, "The
travel.
travel, bro."
Yeah. So the year that
How
I was
are
in
those guys
Oakland,
not drained by the
yeah,
second
the year
half?
I was in Oakland and then got traded to Seattle, I did 63,000 miles. 63,000 miles. And I remember when I got traded from Oakland, I was like, oh shit, where am I going? And all I was thinking about was shorter flights, wherever I go. And he's like, you're going to Seattle? And I was like, fuck, what? Seattle?
A little bit longer there, buddy.
Seattle?
Shortest flight
Might
of
as well
3
send me to
hours.
Tokyo.
Yeah.
Shortest flight.
I don't play in
Bro,
Japan.
that's insane.
Might be closer.
That sucks.
Bro, it was miserable.
Dude,
miserable.
so let me ask you a baseball question, especially for you. So the NBA All-Star game, everybody after the NBA All-Star game was making a big thing of like, there's no competitive All-Star game but MLB.
Correct.
So like, how does MLB make it like their Super Bowl? Like the Super Bowl is, I get it, it's the end of the year, it's the final game. So you're not gonna get players in the league that aren't in the game there. But like, if that's the biggest event baseball has, and we're in a city for 3-4 days, how do you make that the mecca for baseball?
I'll go a step further, and I've like even brought this to the league, like making the All-Star week when there's World Baseball Classic, make it that week. I think that you're gonna get more players. I think you're gonna get more of guys prepared. I think more guys will be more in on like, I'm gonna go because they already have, you know,
You're wound up already. You're
yeah,
ready to roll.
90 innings pitched. So it's not like, dude, I think insurances will probably cover a little bit more guys because they've already played 3 months. But I just think if you want to make it like the Super Bowl and the All-Star, I think you give guys 2 extra days off.
And the World Baseball
I just
Classic
think
make it over
the
the
All-Star
weekend,
break,
too?
I just think the
Yeah.
All-Star break is just not enough. Like, man, like, I get it. I know you want to start that Friday, but
Right.
man,
If
just, so what?
And if you play, the guys that do go to it, I mean,
No break.
You got no break.
Yeah.
At least the guys who didn't have 4 days. If you
Yeah.
played,
Especially if you play on Thursday. What's the
Yeah, Thursday night.
Thursday night. You have
Yeah,
the
but
first
before it was
game.
Friday. Friday where everybody
Some of the
played.
teams make you practice that day too. Some of the teams
yeah, like
practice
people don't know
Thursday.
that.
You're catching flights and
You
you get
practice
one
that
day.
Thursday, you know?
Yeah.
So like people don't understand that. I think you give
too
guys 2 extra days. Everybody plays on Sunday. That's the day. Sunday.
Yeah. Make it a full week. If
Make it
you
a full
have
week.
to, whatever
Yeah.
you got to do.
A full week.
And the WBC this year killed it too.
Exactly.
So many
that's
people
why
were watching. The last game was great. I mean, it was
Last
competitive.
out was insane.
The last out,
Yeah.
Otani
Yeah, I
versus
know.
Trout, all that type of
I
thing.
mean, I don't think they could write it.
No chance.
No. Couldn't have gone any better for them. Yeah, that would be. That's what, because I was thinking, I'm like,
2
damn,
extra
dude.
days off, I think, will be like I think the players would, number one, I think everybody would enjoy it. I don't think it would, if anything, it would help every team. I think every owner would be a part of it. If somebody's banged up, you
Recovery.
get now a week of recovery rather than like put the guy on the IL. Or if a guy pitched, you know, that day, then you have enough time to use him on that Sunday or that Monday. So I don't know. I just think there's so many different ways of doing it.
I also feel like you gotta, like we've all been all-stars, right? Like
Nope.
it's sorry.
Hey,
Some of us sorry.
second backhand all-stars, like second half all-stars. Sure, dude. 2020 all-star. I was. Just check it out. Look it up.
Look it up. Yeah.
But it's a matter of like you want to enjoy the moment, right? You want to
Yeah.
enjoy the All-Star. You want to, and there's not enough time to really like for me, I've never really enjoyed it because it's just so much going on. You have media day, you have this dinner with your agent, then it's the home run derby. Like the home run derby is the best part of it, and it's like there's so much leading up to it that you really can't really like sit back and really take it all in because everything's so fast. It's 2 days. You have 2 days. You get in there Sunday night, and Tuesday after the game you're out.
Yeah.
You know, so it's like it's not enough time to really like soak it in and like the full family experience, the full like. It's an All-Star game. Like it should be special.
Like I went from Seattle to Miami for my All-Star game, home. So my All-Star game is at home. So I went from Seattle to Miami on a red eye after the game. And
You got home at what time?
I got home at 7:30 in the morning in the hotel because I wanted to stay in the hotel
Monday.
to experience
Right.
the All-Star. Like I wanted to experience it, you know? So I was like, I'm not gonna stay at home. I'm gonna stay at the hotel. And at 7:30, and I was like, dude, you have two options here. Either you suck it up because it's the All-Star weekend and it's at home in Miami and your whole family's there. You're gonna play for free. So 100 people coming. Or you're going to
You gotta buy tickets.
Yeah, I kind of like said it, but they ain't free tickets.
They ain't giving you no discount.
Ain't
Nothing
no
like
discounts.
that.
Ain't no, just the taxes. No, it's 50 grand.
Yeah.
Boom. Yeah. And
There goes that.
That's why you get a bonus.
no, that's the bonus.
That's the bonus.
It's gone. Yeah.
The 50
gone.
grand is gone before you even like that thing gets wired. It's been gone. Yeah. And you're like, the hell with it, bro. Like I'm gonna stay up. You know, so then you're up, and then, but this is what I mean by the 2 extra days off, because I was in so much pain for like 2 weeks after the All-Star break. Oh my God, like I couldn't even get up. I was, because I went essentially 72 hours without sleeping.
Yeah.
You know, and
Set you
so I was
back.
so geeked up in Miami, like I was so on a high.
Yeah, it's a moment where
that-
you should be enjoying it, like
Yes.
taking
Exactly.
in, you're at home,
And
like
I was like,
It's bang,
you know,
bang,
and
hell
it's
with
bang,
that.
bang, bang, and you're
I was so tired, like I was so exhausted, but it was so great that I was like, who cares, bro? I'll go for 20. Who gives a shit? You know, like
we can
four
afford
teammates. My
that.
teammates were like, bro, come on. Like, I'm like, the hell with that, dude. You should have seen what we were doing. You know, it was 3 days. It was just bananas. You
I'm
know?
trying to recover.
The hell with that.
Man. Did you guys open the second half back in
In
Seattle?
Oakland.
Oh my God.
So we had to
bad
go
one.
Oakland, Miami.
That's a
Oakland.
bad
I was
one.
like, dude, 63,000 miles, dude. It was like, oh man, I became accustomed to 5-hour flights.
That's
I was a stewardess by the end of that shit. I knew where we were at. Oh,
You got your wings?
Bumpy roads. We're by Denver. We're gonna get there. We'll eventually get there. 2 hours left.
Oh,
you
real
knew.
man.
You knew where you were at.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. It's
crazy.
like that.
Dude, so like I said, this guy, OG in Miami right here, playing days, try to be like him, follow exactly
Yeah.
what he did.
Yeah.
Even now, post playing days,
Yeah.
same way, calling you for advice all the time,
Yep, same.
and you've always been there and all that.
Thanks, bro.
And then this guy, he was my young boy, and then all of a sudden this dude turned into a leader,
man.
to where like I'm sitting back learning from you every day. Like, God, bro, like Manny just stays. It's right here all day, every day. Like something special about that, man. So you guys are the man. I appreciate you guys coming through,
Absolutely.
and we'll be
Yeah,
tuned
man.
in, baby.
Yeah.
I'm excited to watch.
We're excited.
It's beautiful.
Appreciate you.
Absolutely.
Thanks, dude. That was sick.